Hey guys, Kevin Downey from Kevin Downey. Thanks so much for being here today. Really appreciate it. Continuing our videos on AI for business. In this case, I want to show you voice transcript to polished article. And it's one of my favorite standalone or manual use cases of AI. We do our AI training. I'm going to show you that here really quick. We cover a lot of different things when we do our general AI training in companies. And of course, we do custom work, custom project implementation or build implementation and training, right? But I spend most of my time, my team does a lot of that project build and implementation. I spend most of my time on general training for clients, mostly what we would call standalone or manual use of AI. And these are the three things when we do general training. I cover a lot of different things and demo stuff and all that kind of thing. And I send clients different documentation and all kinds of stuff, right? Depending on the client and what they need, how they're going to use AI, that kind of stuff. But if you don't know the difference, standalone or manual AI use is when you're using AI, in this case, Claude, on a one-to-one basis. You're feeding it information. You may be feeding it PDFs or CSVs or just pure content or whatever. And it's, you're going back and forth with it. It can be as a thought partner. It could be it producing things for you, which is the demo I want to show today. But that's standalone manual use, which I love, right? I think it's so cool. I think it's just endless possibilities for companies, for owners and executives. Just as a thought partner alone, it's worth getting into AI if you're not familiar, right? But then you have integrated AI and agentic AI, and integrated is when you're connecting AI to an outside piece of software for your company via N8N or Zapier or whatever, right? Having it grab information and report it back to you, or whatever it's doing with that software. And then there's agentic AI, which is really the hot topic these days with business use. And agentic is very easy to understand because the word agent is in it, right? It's where you're integrating AI and you're having it take action. It's making judgments and then taking action, like sending an email or building a new column based on calculations. It's actually putting the numbers in a column, right? Whatever. There's all kinds of different things it can do. Right? But I love standalone manual AI use. I just think it's endless, and I love it as a thought partner. But today, I want to show you one of my favorite examples of use in business. A lot of AI, there's a lot in here about, market analysis is one thing that's really cool, and there's copywriting, and obviously there's CSV analysis and reporting that it can do. All that kind of stuff, right, is great. But this is something that applies to almost every department in a company, from owner all the way to frontline people. And that is taking audio, so a brain dump, and turning it into a finished piece, right? Whether we're talking about content for a blog post, we're talking about a knowledge-based article in this case, we're talking about SOP build, knowledge-based build, onboarding documentation for new employees, handbook, company handbook, all kinds of stuff. I've worked with clients who've already started to use AI this way. And I think this is so neat just because it covers every department, and so many people in these departments can use AI in this case alone and make use of it, right? And so this is audio to knowledge base. So I'm not going to show you the audio transcript first, right? So if you didn't know, general AI use and the API stuff gets a little bit different, but general AI as of yet you're not using it. It can't listen to audio and it cannot watch video. Not yet. It's coming, but not yet. So when we do an audio recording, how do we take that and turn that into an article or a knowledge-based document or whatever the case is, right? And get it polished article. Right. So I'm going to show you the end first and then show you what I gave it, because I wanted to test. I had never done it actually until this one. So I did email marketing for clients for 8 years, if you didn't know that. And so that's a field of expertise that I have outside of AI, is, sales, business development, cold email, copywriting, cold email, infrastructure build, all that kind of stuff. And then, I did that for 8 years, sent 105, 110 million emails for clients. And then I sold that book of business to a client, B2B agency. And so I have a lot of experience, going back almost a decade with cold email. So what I wanted to do was take everything that's in my head, right? And I put this together in an outline before, but I did not give that to Claude. All I gave it was an audio transcript. And this is the finished piece I got out. Now, this only looks moderately impressive at first glance. It's very organized. It's got some nice coloration to it, right? And good structure overall. It made a mistake in the graphical element a little bit in spacing. But the actual content was flawless. Flawless. And it's one of my favorite uses of AI for everybody, right? It's not just a specific person or a specific department in a company that can use it this way. From marketing to sales to operational people and HR and all kinds of different people, right? And owners, obviously, and leaders, is this finalized document is this, right? And okay, you're saying like, that's a nice PDF. I'm glad AI can do that. And it does do a great job with PDFs. And you could have, I could have done this as a Word document. You could do it black and white. You can, teach it, train it on how you wanted to do a colored document, coloration, a little coloration and graphics and some headings and lines and all the stuff you see here, right? And I'll show you the black and white version that it kicked out first, because that's what it did first. And then I had it turn it into this finished document. But it literally only took 2 steps. Okay, so this is, again, fairly impressive. If you're not used to AI producing this kind of thing, reports and PDFs and stuff, you're like, wow, that's really neat. Wait till you see what I gave it. So check this out. This is what it worked from. 30-minute transcript, iPhone voice memos, and having iPhone's built-in transcription. I didn't even give it to Letterly. I didn't use Whisperflow or Otter or anything. I took I did a brain dump for 30 minutes on email marketing, went all over the place. Had to backtrack a couple times on some numbers, right? And that was good because I made some errors in the audio. I wanted to see if Claude would catch it. That I called it out in the audio that was a mistake. Wait, this is correct. Blah blah blah. Complete brain dump. And I wanted to see, because again, I've trained clients on this, but I've also, most of them are familiar with Otter, or they're familiar with Whisperflow or whatever. But everyone has, more or less, at least everybody on iPhone anyway, has voice memos and Apple's built-in transcription capabilities with it. So rather than have an extra piece of software, let's just do it on voice memos and let the iPhone transcribe it. And then we'll feed Claude the transcription and see what it can do to create an article. So you saw the finished article. This is what I gave Claude. Complete brain dump. I don't know how many words this is. I forgot to ask Claude that question. But it's 30 minutes, 29 minutes of audio on email marketing. So let's go to the chat. So this is how I asked it to build it. And I gave it the TXT file, right? If you copy and paste something that long, it'll turn it into its own TXT file in this case anyway. Okay, let's look at what the initial build was. Here you go. So it built all of it in black and white as an article, dead on accurate. I didn't have to fix anything there. But what I did ask it to do is the only thing in memory I had to double check or reference is that our previous, I told it, yes, can you turn into a nice PDF like you have done previously? So that's the only thing I had to cross-reference or go back to. Colorful cover page with our contact information would be great. Thank you. And bam. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. So the branded part, I just like that it looks nicer. That's not really the point of this. The point was that it organized the content. So it actually explained to me what it did. So this is what's so cool, right? Good content here, KD, given the depth and tactical nature, infrastructure builds, cost breakdowns, copy structure. This reads more like a knowledge-based article than a blog post, which I wanted to give it the option and see what it would do, right? Blog post work for thought leadership and surface level tasks. This is a reference document someone would come back to repeatedly. Let me build it out as a polished knowledge-based article. Okay, great. Thanks, Claude. All right, here's the finished knowledge base article. I went with knowledge base over blog post, blah, blah, blah. A few calls I made worth flagging. So this is its judgment capabilities. I restructured the flow from the conversational order you recorded into a more logical progression. Goal, what not to do, deliverability, infrastructure, list building, copywriting, compliance, and summary. I also cleaned up the math on the domain costs where you caught yourself mid-calculation in the audio. It actually referenced that. And I kept your voice throughout. The sales brain turns off and marketing brain turns online. The block style philosophy, 100 million email credential, blah, blah, blah. That's your authority, blah, blah, blah. So it gave me all of that. And bam, dead on. So if you're curious about how AI can help your company, right, I would tell you as an owner that there are two basic use cases. And again, the general training that I walk through, this is very powerful for companies. So the two use cases right out of the gate that I work with owners and their teams on is first is using AI as a thought partner. It's one of the most important things you can use it for. And it's endless. If you're not familiar with AI and you haven't dug in, sign up for Claude, get a free account and start playing with it. Just start talking to it about your business. Give it your website. Ask it questions. Talk about market targeting, all kinds of stuff. And then you can get into your people and your teams and it's endless, right? But use it as a thought partner. And then the other thing is use it for where you wouldn't even an audio, a brain dump from somebody's brain on anything in any department in your company to turn it into a document. A document can be a Word document. It can be a PDF. It can be almost any format you want, right? And then use that within your company, right? So blog post content, easy for department heads and people that are product specialists in your company to go brain dump on a product or a line of products that you have, right? And use AI to turn that into an article for publication. But if you ask people to sit down and write from scratch, it's so taxing mentally to get yourself ready to do that. But it's much easier for us to do audio and talk about our field of expertise or something we have in our head that we need to turn into documentation. This is just a perfect example of how AI can be used so effectively. Because a lot of times we're not even talking about replacing people, because a lot of times this would never even get done in companies because they never want to sit down and write. Right? Like a company might solve it if they really need to by having the marketing department or somebody that's the writer interview someone and then do this same process. But you can now do this with AI lickety split. Like this article was done from that thing to the article took seconds to produce, 15 seconds maybe. And then the polished PDF took another couple of minutes because it has to arrange things and layer them for PDF and all that fun stuff, right? But this is the kind of thing where AI has such value, again, as a thought partner, creating content, creating knowledge bases, SOPs, onboarding documentation for your company. So useful just there, not to mention the automation and all the other things that I work with clients on and show them what it can do and train them on, right? And we build task accelerators for particular people in their organization that maybe don't want to think through this on their own. And they're like, can you help me build this using Claude? Absolutely. Can do it easily for you, right? Less than an hour's worth of work. All right. So anyway, if you have any questions, reach out to us. Website is kevinmdowney.com. Schedule the calls in the upper right-hand corner. Thanks for being here today. Best of luck in business, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.